Let's always drink the good stuff.
It's about food, art, travel, music, culture, lifestyle. It's interesting conversations with interesting people. And yes, sometimes it's even about drinking the good stuff. We are really excited to have our guest with us today. We're going to talk about things that I really love to do, but in a smaller scale, something that I've never done before. So, Richard, welcome to Always Drink the Good Stuff. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much
Our
for having
guest
me.
is Richard Bravo, of course. And Richard, welcome, as I said. As I alluded to him before as well, I love traveling, and I'm really happy when I'm out on the road traveling, whether within the U.S. or in Europe or Asia. But one thing I've never done is cruising, whether on an ocean liner or river cruising, and that's what you've done plenty, I presume.
Yes.
And that's what you love to do, and I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about this. But first, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Personally, I am married. I got five actually grown-up kids with my marriage. So remarried a little bit later in life. 4 grandkids, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, ranging between 9 and 2. Love the family. Love looking for family opportunities. Hobbies. Love building. Working with wood. So I love all that stuff. Work related. I've been in the travel industry for 30 years now. This past July was 30 years.
Wonderful.
And I love it. It's a fun field. I will share that the reason I stepped into it because I've always just had an appreciation for history and geography. And I started out with AAA, worked with AAA for 18 years, and that's how I got my start. They had a travel agent program, went through the course, passed the interview and test, and started there, and then just through series of the years and learning more. I had some supervisor roles, manager roles. Before I left AAA, I was managing their cruise product line. Went to another company that was still in travel, but something a bit different, which is cool about travel. There's so many different things that you can do, from hotel industry to car rentals and everything in between. That company ended up closing their doors, and I got my first outside sales role with a really cool luxury rail company called Rocky Mountaineer. And they did these luxury rail trips through the Canadian Rockies. I did that for about 4 years. Then I worked for my first river cruise line starting in 2019. And then that was when I had my first river cruise experience. So just to kind of jump on that for a moment, as long as I've been in the industry, when I took my first river cruise, that was my favorite way of traveling. And I say that with all sincerity. Aside from a road trip, I'll actually pick a road trip anytime. I just love road trips. But when you're talking like, being on a tour bus or an ocean cruise or river cruise that we're talking about, river cruise is the way that I want to go. It's intimate. It's up close and personal. When you're talking about Europe, I know that we want to talk a little bit about Europe also, just the fact that you're going through the riverways are like the historic highways of Europe, right? I mean, with all the capitals on the city, if we're talking about Danube, as an example, you've got Vienna right there, you got Budapest, you got Bucharest, like all right there on the water. And we're docked right next to these places. So even to use like moving over to the Rhine River, the city of Cologne, for an example, where we dock, literally, you're looking at a 10-minute leisurely walk to be at the front doors of the Cologne Cathedral. So it's that type of experience that we offer. That's a very famous
cathedral.
Yes.
Are you originally from Los Angeles?
I am native Angelino, which is kind of rare these days. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. As I said, I love traveling, but one thing I've never done is, as I said before, is cruising, because I always feel that I'm confined inside the cruise ship and limited to the activities. I'm more of a free spirit. I like to do my own thing. But this is fascinating. As I travel through Europe, and as I travel through. As I see a lot of these famous European rivers, they're always filled with river cruise ships where passengers are traveling from one destination to the other and staying overnight aboard the ship. Let's talk briefly about European cruising, river cruises. Are there different classes, or are there different cruise ship sizes that people have options to use to travel on?
So most of the cruise ships on certain waterways will be about the same size. So like Rhine, Main, Danube being some of the larger waterways, all those ships are going to be about the same length and things. So they try to kind of maximize the size on certain rivers. If you're talking about like Bordeaux in France, those need to be a little bit smaller just based on the waterways there.
And because these boats have to turn, correct?
Yep. So they have to turn in certain locations. Some will be different sizes. I don't want to mislead you and think that they're all exactly the same size. Some can be different sizes, but majority you'll find to be about the same size on certain rivers. One little side note to that, like if we're talking about the Seine River in France, for example, there's a port of Honfleur, right? So like the Impressionist artist, it's famous for that beautiful little town. To get into there, the ship has to be a certain size, no more than 110 meters. We've actually got some ships that are just that size, so our guests can benefit from going right into port, being right there in the heart of the city. Some other ships are actually larger, so in that case, they have to dock outside, hop on a tour bus, and get motored in. So all those little things add to the overall experience, though.
And how many guests do these standard river cruise ships hold?
Yeah, I would say on average, you're looking, again, it's going to depend on certain rivers, but you're typically not looking any higher than like about 190, 200 maybe maximum. Our largest ship, we have two brands, by the way, our Emerald brand and our Scenic brand. I can talk a little bit the differences there, but with our Emerald brand, the largest river cruise ship holds 180 passengers, Scenic 163.
And does that mean there are 90 cabins?
Yes. Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And are there differences between levels of service or luxury levels between these two brands that you just listed?
The two brands that we have, great question. So there is. So with our Emerald brand, which by the way, we have river and ocean for both brands, Emerald and Scenic, but with Emerald, I describe them as being mostly inclusive because we include a lot, but it's not all inclusive. And it's going to be a bit more contemporary on board with the aesthetics and design. Emerald, exactly. Scenic is going to be, I would describe the decor as being a bit more, I kind of say sophisticated, a little bit darker colors and things, still contemporary, just in a different way. And it's going to be luxury, all inclusive.
So Scenic is more luxurious.
Yes.
At a higher price point.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
And it's all inclusive.
All inclusive.
And you have these available everywhere?
We do. So if we're talking about Europe, then we're doing all the main waterways. So the Belgian Dutch waterways, if you want to like go see the windmills and like the tulips in that area. The Rhine River, the Mosel. We do the Main, which cuts across the southern part of Germany, which connects to the Danube. We do the Upper Danube, pretty much from like Regensburg and Munich area all the way down to Bulgaria and Romania. So we cover a big area there, as well as France and the Douro River. Yeah.
And how long do these cruises last? How many days?
Generally, you're looking at 8 days, 7 nights for most river cruises. We've got a number of different ones that are longer, though. So using Bordeaux is an option for the guest that just wants to do it a little bit more leisurely, see a little bit more. We've got our traditional 8 days, 7 night, but we also got an 11-day, 10 night also.
And are you at a different port every day?
Majority of the time, yeah, we're moving each day. So we'll never stay in a certain location more than 2 nights. We'll overnight in certain locations and make sure we get enough time there. And then making sure that we're hitting some other gems along the way. So to kind of even put that in perspective, basically our operations team, the ones that are plotting out these different agendas, they do a really good job of identifying, okay, this place, there's a ton to see. Cologne, like I mentioned, Strasbourg is another example. We're going to be there. You're going to wake up. You're going to be there. We're going to stay there till late in the morning, maybe till midnight or 1 in the morning. So you get a full day there. There's other little gems along the way that do not require us to spend all day, but you don't want to miss them. So we'll make sure that we spend time to stop there, offer a choice of excursions, and then some free time to explore on your own also, and then we'll move on to the next port of call.
And once you get to a particular port of call, there are excursions pre-planned already, right?
Yes.
Visiting landmarks, visiting vineyards, visiting cathedrals, whatever the case may be.
That's right. Yep, all the above. Yep.
And how much of these, let me get back to that. Who's your typical customer?
For our Emerald product and Scenic, it's going to change up just a little bit. If we're looking at our Emerald product, think of an age range that starts more like 45 to 50. So it skews a little bit younger, even than a number of other river cruise lines out there, where Scenic is going to be, I'd say, more like 55 to 60-ish on up. Emerald, still well-traveled. Expensive cars, but nothing overly fancy either at the same time. Children graduated. A number of the children are maybe still living at home, though, whereas with Scenic, they're definitely the empty nesters. They're doing the nice boutique hotels. So those would be some basic things, certainly a higher net income. The part that I always remind people of, when you understand what the overall experience is like, there's something that transcends all of those different details. Like I enjoy wine, you enjoy wine. We know a lot of youngsters are getting into wine, and certainly you have the aficionados that are, really know all about it. So those people that are looking for that same type of experience, we're delivering on that also. So you have these things that kind of break some of those barriers.
And do these demographics also depend on where the destination is, where you're cruising?
That plays a part. That definitely plays a part. Maybe not as much as with ocean cruising,
Right.
but it can definitely play a part, sure. Yeah.
And do people bring their kids with them on these cruises?
We do allow kids. Typically, we just don't get a lot of kids. And with our ships in particular, not all the river cruise lines are like this, but with our ships in particular, we don't have many, if any, like adjoining staterooms, for example. So like kids, I would say like 8 on up, but then you'd have to have an adult stay, like 2 adults going, one would have to stay in that separate cabin. We don't have any staterooms that have like a triple or a quad type bedding available. Yeah.
And who are your passengers? Where are your passengers coming from? United States, Europe, Asia?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because there's a number of cruise lines that have like majority North American market. Ours is a very international audience. So we're an Australian-owned company, first of
Okay.
all. So I'll talk a little bit about the history of our company if I can, really quick
Yeah,
too. So
please.
we're coming up on 40 years next year. Started out as a tour operator in Newcastle, Australia. They started running tours. Then they started expanding around the globe. 2008 came, and our owner, his name is Glenn Maroney, really innovative man, always looking for new ideas. 2008, of course, there were a number of things going on in the market. So he was looking for new ways to kind of, keep travel going. So under the Scenic brand, they started their first river cruises in Europe. So with that, we also entered the U.S. market much, much later than a number of other river cruise lines that have been doing it like probably nearly 20 years already. So all that just to say, we're a global company. I would say primarily English speaking, absolutely Aussies, North Americans, Canadians as well, of course, a lot of Brits, but then we get a good segment of Germans, and the Latin American market is actually really growing a big too now. So it's nice when you're on board a ship and you're not running into everybody that's like from Woodland Hills and Sherman Oaks, but you're meeting people literally from around the world. Yeah.
That's interesting. And where are some of the most popular destinations? 2
most popular ones, especially for a first-time river cruise, would be the upper Danube, so that area between like a city called Passau in Germany, I think like Regensburg, Munich, that general area, down to Budapest. So some stops in between there would be Vienna, Bucharest, maybe another one. Then options to go to Salzburg or a really cool town in the Czech Republic called Český Krumlov. And then you can do pre and post nights with that also, which we can add too. So maybe an extension into Prague or a few extra days longer in Budapest. That'd be a popular one. The other one would be the Rhine. So this area between Amsterdam down to Basel, Switzerland. Again, some great pre and post options. Highlights in there, I mentioned Strasbourg, Cologne, and then there's an area called the Rhine Gorge. I don't know if are you familiar with the Rhine Gorge?
No.
Rich in history, think like Holy Roman Empire, the 30 Years' War, but the castles on this one like leisurely
I know.
4 or so hour stretch, like 40 different castles, these beautiful little villages that you pass along the way.
And these are all the ports of call destinations that your passengers will go?
For the Rhine Gorge, no. We actually sail through that
Good.
part, so it's really just a lot of narration that goes on to kind of bring that to life. So guests are up on board with a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, just kind of taking in the scenery and learning the history.
Well, on that point though, do your hosts offer any narrations or history of the regions you're traveling to, or you pass out information about where you're traveling to, what they could be looking for, what they should be looking for on the left or on the right?
Exactly, and that's exactly what we do, definitely. Yep. So, and that one is probably one of the best examples, because that is, having done that river, that is absolutely the highlight. I love Cologne, Strasbourg, amazing city, and the other little gems that I mentioned, but that's a time to just really sit back and enjoy the river cruising. Like, you're on a river cruise because you definitely want to go to some ports, but there's something absolutely amazing about just sitting back and watching
slow
that
cruising.
scenery float by. Exactly.
And I go to Dusseldorf for the Pro Wine Show,
Okay.
and the Rhine goes right through there. You do see a lot of river cruise ships there as well.
Do you? Okay. Yep.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are traveling at night because during the daytime they are somewhere docked.
That's right. Can I address that too?
Please, yes.
Because there's something to consider, right? There's a lot of different things considered. So I'll use the two that I just mentioned, the Upper Danube or the Rhine as examples. There's a lot to see on those itineraries, which is why, to your point, a lot of times you'll do the overnight cruising because you just want to like make sure you're at that next port of call so they can enjoy everything at that next port of call. But what I mentioned earlier too, there's something really great about being able to sit back, especially if you've got that veranda stateroom,
Yes.
and take in that scenery, right? So you kind of want a combination of both. I would recommend, if at all possible, doing those two rivers in particular. If you can do like a 10-day or an 11-day, that's really going to allow you to enjoy it a bit more leisurely. So I've done the 8 days a number of times. And I think a lot of people agree that I've done it. Like by day 3, you can be a little exhausted because you don't want to miss anything. So you're pushing yourself to keep going, and you can miss some of that leisureliness of it. So there's options where you can really extend it so it feels a little more leisurely, which is why of the rivers that I've done, as much as I love those ones, Bordeaux I think is probably my favorite. Just by the design of that area. So like Bordeaux being the biggest city, everything else are just small little highlights, right? Saint-Emilion and Fort Medoc, all these different places that you go to there. But we don't do any overnight cruising, so it's all daylight cruising that we do between the different ports. You get to really again take in that scenery, and it gives you a little bit longer in those different towns also.
Okay, now you're talking my language. Let's talk Bordeaux.
Okay.
Where does it begin, the Bordeaux cruise?
Round trip Bordeaux is basically all.
You start at Bordeaux.
Yep, and
you
end
go
at
and come back.
Yep.
And where are some of the towns you stop, you visit?
So Saint-Emilion is
Right.
one, so certainly a highlight there.
Absolutely.
And we get the majority of the day there also, right? So get some time to do your excursions. And to give an idea what the excursions are, they'll range anywhere from a city walking tour, of course, is taking in some of the highlights, to doing some wine tasting and maybe some culinary tasting as well too, but certainly some free time. You'll definitely get some free time there as well. Other ones would be like Fort Medoc is another place that we stop at. Pauillac is another one that we stop at. Cadillac,
Yeah.
so we hit all the highlights within that region.
And is that a 10-day cruise?
We have an 11-day, 10-night cruise, and we also do an 8-day, 7-night cruise.
And how much of these cruises, particularly for people, I mean, let's face it, these cruises are not for everybody. You have to be at a certain
Absolutely.
level, economically, culturally.
Yep.
Not everybody. It's not a 3-day Mexico cruise that people go there to get drunk, basically.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It's not a one-size-fits-all either. Yeah, to your
Right.
point. Yep.
And how much of these cruises are driven by food and wine?
Ooh.
Their appreciation for food and wine.
Yeah, I would say majority, but even more so when you're in France, I think for obvious reasons, right? Especially when you're in like Rhone, Saône, like between Lyon, which like outside of Paris is arguably like the the culinary capital of France. Arles, you get that art. I mean, talking about Van Gogh, and things like that. So the art, the culture, cuisine is huge, and we bring all those cuisines on board the ship also. So you'll experience it off the ship as well as once you're on board the ship too, which really comes into play. Like if we go back to the Danube, for example, like on a normal 8-day, 7-night, you're going to like 4 different countries. So we're changing that cuisine throughout the cruise to take some of that in. Yeah.
Last time I was in Lyon, I went down to Avignon, and on the way back from Avignon, I took the slow train from Avignon to Lyon. It took about 2.5, 3 hours, which was actually wonderful because the train basically runs next to the Rhone River.
Oh, wow.
And you get to see everything. As it meanders through central France, southern France, you get to see everything. It was just phenomenal. It was well worth the time to see all the beautiful scenery, the river, and everything else. So I can imagine when you're on one of these. Do you have cruises on the Rhone River? You just mentioned.
We do, yeah, absolutely. So starting out of like Arles, it takes in Avignon, of course. So you fly into Marseille or Nice for that also. And I love that you mentioned the train because I just love train travel. But you're right; it's kind of you're going through like the backyard of certain areas that you can't see off the main road, right? Or even from the river in some cases. So our traditional one would start off down there, make its way up to Lyon, but we go to some cities even north of that too, all the way up to like the town of Chalon-sur-Saône.
Okay.
So we go that high also. We do Vienne is another small town also. Viviers is another town. So think of like the truffle tastings and like chocolates and obviously all those different regional wines. The Maconnais wines that we stop at as well too. So some beautiful stops on that one.
Any cruise within Burgundy?
So within Burgundy, I think as close as we get there is going to be going into Chalon-sur-Saône. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is because they don't have large rivers there, or is it because it's primarily...
pretty much like where the most cruises will stop about that area.
And what about on the Mosel you mentioned in Germany? That whole region is full of beautiful vineyards and wines. Is that something that people want to stop by and taste the wine, drink the wines on the Mosel?
Absolutely. That's one river that I haven't personally done yet, which is high on my list. But certainly we have stops along the way too to enjoy those different tastes through there too. Yeah.
And as part of the meals that cruise ships offer, are you matching the region's wines and culinary flavors as you're going through different countries? Absolutely.
It's huge. Culinary is big, and even more so with our scenic brand. Like I said, that's our more elevated one. So to talk about the culinary experience, we offer up to 5 dining options on our river cruise. So imagine 163 guests, you have up to 5 different dining options. So that begins with in-room dining. So 11 o'clock at night, you decide you're hungry, you want like a burger and a glass of wine, we'll deliver that to you. We've got butler service as well. Everybody gets some level of butler service. But we've got our main dining room, so like breakfast, lunch, dinner is going to be served there. We've got a really cool area called our River Cafe, which is basically a food station, but you can grab something there throughout the day. So on some ships, maybe between lunch and dinner, like maybe you can get an apple or a banana, but you can always get something with us. We have our specialty dining restaurant, which holds up to 30 guests, so everybody gets an invitation for that. And just a little bit more elevated experience, maybe some nicer wines that are going to be paired with that. The up to 5 that I mentioned, that's going to be for our guests that are maybe in some of our higher end, like more luxury suites. That's going to be invitation only, but that is going to be like this amazing 7-course meal. The presentations are beautiful, very nice wines. That's like a 2-hour, 3-hour experience.
Is that only for a specific number of passengers, or is open to everybody by invitation?
Yes. So with the exception of that last one that I said up to, that one is invitation only. Exactly. Yeah.
And obviously that's more expensive
the guests that are paying to be in some of those higher end suites. Exactly. And then when we moved to France, if that wasn't enough for the culinary, in France we have what we call as our scenic culinaire class. So it's not really class, but it's basically a chance to watch a cooking demonstration. So 8 people can sign up for that. We do that each day, and it's interactive. Drinking a glass of wine, you get to taste what the chef has prepared. On another day, and we only do this once, and it's really popular, so we do it by lottery, is a shopping with the chef. So when you're in Bordeaux, we get up early. We're like one of the first ones to the market. Like a lot of folks are still setting up, but we're going out, we're tasting things, asking questions, like super fun, engaging. And then the chef, he or she, will pick up something to take back to that afternoon's scenic culinary class, and then you get to watch them prepare that and taste that as well.
On the main, I think it was the third option you said, where it's a breakfast, lunch, dinner was served on the main restaurant level, I suppose. How elevated is that food? What's the level of the culinary experience in that room?
Yeah, I think the food is great. Honestly, I think the food is great. It's so breakfast is going to be more of like a buffet style, but there's a wide range to choose from. Then we have lunch is going to be like an option between buffet and sit down with the menu. Dinner, of course, full sit down menu. But even considering, every evening before you actually go to dinner, we all go up into the lounge area and we'll hear from the cruise director and then also the chef and what he's prepared that evening, and then what they've paired with, what wine they've paired with that. But even outside of the wines that they've paired, which they think are the best selection, there's a whole list of other wines that you can choose from also. But everything from fish is honestly one of my favorites that we serve on board. I think all the different style fish that I've had, I think have been amazing.
You're on water after you got some people catching in the back, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's been amazing. What else? I mean, the escargot. I mean, there's a pretty good selection of things that we have on board. Yeah.
Are you matching the food with where you are. for
We
example.
are. Yes, there's always an option.
And
So
the
that-
wine for that matter.
Yes, yep, absolutely. So there's always going to be an option, so we'll have a regional cuisine at every port that we're stopping at. But if you even want something off the menu, maybe this particular evening you just want to get a steak, we can provide that for you as well. But yes, it's going to be regional cuisines in all the different areas that we're traveling through. Yeah.
You said your smallest one is about 180 people.
Yes, yep.
And that certainly limits you as to some of the waterways you cannot go, correct?
Not all the rivers that we travel on. There is something, and I'm not sure if this might where you'd be getting to, but just to address it, sometimes waters, if they're like high or low. I don't know if you've ever heard.
Actually, I've
heard
seen.
that.
I was watching this program once on the Seine River.
Mm-hmm.
They could not go into a particular area because it was low tide.
Exactly. Yeah. So that can happen at times, definitely.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Because that one you actually get some actual tidal waters coming in from the ocean. The same thing with Bordeaux. So you're not going to find as many of like you won't find any locks in Bordeaux. I don't know if the Seine has any locks. But yes, that can be an issue also. So they definitely prepare for that. Yeah.
I've seen some where there are literally about maybe 20 people on a riverboat. And it's traveling through the barge.
Yep.
Maybe they even barges, I'm not sure.
Right.
Through the smaller waterways and
That's
channels.
correct. Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to do one of those. We don't have anything quite that small,
And
but
there's
they are
some
more
also
barges.
where
Yeah.
they let the guests themselves run the boat.
I've
themselves.
seen that. Yes.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun.
Yep, that would
Going
be a lot
through
of
the
fun.
locks and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And those really get into some of the more intimate places like through the
Right.
countryside and stuff like that.
They have a lot of those in Burgundy, in Rhine, in Holland.
Yep.
Where they have smaller waterways.
That's
and
right.
You have the guests themselves running the whole boat, and they have bicycles on board where when you dock, you go bike around the small villages and towns.
That's
do your
right.
shopping, come and cook for yourself. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that one looks really fun. But you mentioned like bicycles also. I think people to get like a full idea of what river cruising is really about is so we have bicycles on board also. We use e-bikes. We'll have a fitness instructor on board too, like health and wellness. People want to continue on with that. We've got a gym on board as well.
And a very large swimming pool.
We've got. It depends on the ship though. Some of them we have
No, I
actually a
was joking.
decent sized one. Yeah.
They can jump into the river.
Yeah, well, yeah, you may not want to jump in some of those rivers, but some of them will have like a larger, depending on when the ship was built, you'll have at least like a small plunge pool, jacuzzi-style pool also. On our Emerald ships in particular, we do have something incredibly unique. It's basically an indoor heated swimming pool, and it's a good size. It's like 5 by 15. It's like an infinity-style pool. Look at the back of the ship. You got these panoramic windows all along the side of it. And the roof is retractable. So in the middle of summer, we can roll that all the way back. It's even got like a wave-resistant button that you can hit so you can get like a nice little workout in there. That same space doubles as a cinema room on certain nights on the cruise. So what happens is the pool floor bottom rises, all the water is now below. We bring in chairs, popcorn,
Really?
drop a movie screen, and we'll show some movies.
That's certainly
It's super
versatile.
cool. It really is. And what people love about it, we try to make it as fun as we can. So like it was actually a guest that shared this with me. She's like, I love your pool and I love the cinema room. She said the next day we were doing an excursion to Salzburg. So they showed us The Sound of Music the night before. So little fun things like that. They just try to keep, the guests entertained with.
What's a typical day like for a passenger on one of your river cruises?
A typical day, start up with some excursions. We'll have a variety, and I'll talk
What time does the day start? Like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
with the breakfast. Normally, we'll start at like 7:30, right about 7:30, and that will go on till about 10.
Okay.
So you can get up and have breakfast anytime between that time frame. You may want to jump on the earlier one if you have an excursion that might be starting
they're
a little bit
different,
earlier also.
Times, right? Different
Their
schedules.
breakfast is just open, so you just go in. Again, that's more buffet style, so you can just kind of go in and serve what you want. There is a late risers also, so if it's after 10, you can go up in the lounge, and they can always prepare something for you. Maybe not the same options, but they can bring something for you also. So as far as breakfast, that's where that starts off. Excursions will typically start no later than 8:30 at the earliest. Most of them start like 9 or 9:30 to a variety of different places that you're going to go to that day. Yeah.
Okay. And then depending on where they're going, they could be coming back at noon or in the afternoon.
That's
correct?
right. That's right. Yep.
And then what's next as far as the cruise director or the cruise ship is concerned.
Yeah, so some folks that may just opt to stay on board, they'll probably do some, maybe even some sailing. As an example, you may come back to you may stay in that same port all day. They may just do some local exploring there. Then you have some of the guests that went off and maybe did even a full day excursion. So one great example of that is in the port of Passau in Germany. There's a hard choice to make. You can either go to Salzburg on a full day excursion or to this town called Český Krumlov in the Czech Republic. Really hard choice. I chose Český Krumlov.
Why is it a hard choice?
They're just both amazing places. And it's unfortunate that where they're located, you just have to pick one or the other. I chose Český Krumlov, and just to talk briefly on that, that town is amazing. Anybody that you talk to that's been there, they're just going to go off about it because you are literally stepping back into a town that time has stopped. It's fairy tale, storybook. Your dollar tends to go really far there. Also, a lot of the goods, you don't run into as many as the trendy touristy type things. These are really cool things that are handmade and stuff. So it's really cool town to visit. But then in that case, you're gone all day, and then the ship has actually moved to another port, Linz in that case. So then both of those excursions that went out the full day will then meet back in the town of Linz. Yeah. So that's not a typical. Sometimes we'll come back to that port, but those are just different things that can happen.
You just don't leave the guests behind.
Exactly. That's it. Yep. That's right.
How often do you get repeat travelers?
We get a lot of repeat travelers. I could be slightly off with these numbers. That I want to say mid to upper 60s are probably repeat travelers that we get. They just love the experience of river cruising. They love what we deliver to them in terms of river cruising. And we've got a really good program where they can, while they're on board, they can basically purchase a credit that when they're ready to actually book, that credit that they purchase for a certain amount doubles. So they can apply that towards their next cruise. So there's incentive to rebook.
That's interesting.
Yep.
That's okay. That's very interesting. Mm-hmm. And how competitive is this market?
River cruising is very competitive. There's new ships being added every single year. So next year, as a matter of fact, we have another new ship that we're bringing on to our Emerald brand that's going to be sailing the Rhine mine in Danube. We have another one the following year, 27, that's going to be up doing the Seine River, because currently our Emerald product, we're not doing the Seine River, but this ship will be sailing in 27. And then just another example, there's another cruise line who's only done ocean up to this point, but starting next year for the next 3 years, they're introducing 10 new river cruise ships. And that's just my brand that I talked about and this one other brand. Then you got all the other ones that are introducing 1, 2 here. So it's growing. I would say a lot of questions or conversations that come up are around the idea of what's going to happen. Are we ever going to hit a point where it seems like,
is there a demand for this many?
There still is. All these ships are filling up still. Absolutely. And it's fun. And the other part that we haven't talked about that I want to kind of throw out there also is because I know you were with Bordeaux, now you're talking my language. We've got a great group program that we do as well. In fact, we've even refined a group program specifically around wine groups too, which could be you're taking a wine owner, a winemaker on board. So there's special benefits, maybe some special things that we'll include. Like when you hit a certain point, we're going to give you a complimentary shore excursion that's just for your group. But we'll have wine pairing, wine tastings.
Where the winemaker of a particular winery will be on board, where he or she will be talking about the wine that they're serving.
Exactly.
During that particular lunch or dinner, and they are talking about the particular wine region that they're visiting. Mm-hmm. I've heard about those situations. I think that opens the market up to other people who otherwise may not necessarily be interested in river cruising.
Yes.
But now they have a wine angle, wine element you're introducing into
That's right.
which makes it a lot more appealing for them.
Yep, exactly. And wine groups have been going on that focus on wine groups and just building a program around that. There's nothing new. I mean, that's been going on, at least probably the last 15 years, with a concerted effort, but it continues to grow. I go up to Paso Robles on a regular basis. I got married up in that area also, and we just love that area here. All the wineries that I visit, you walk in, there's always a promotion of some sort of wine group that they're doing, not just with river cruise. Now it's expanded to ocean cruises also. Right. So there's definitely a market for that.
And is that the trend, winery, or what are the growing trends right now?
It's a continuing trend. I don't know that I would say it's getting more popular, but it continues to recycle itself with new innovative ways. Like, how can we do something new? So it's kind of gone from the more traditional river cruising into the ocean cruises. I haven't even talked about our ocean cruise product. I'll hold off on that for a little bit. But it continues to grow. I was going to go somewhere with a thought, and I forgot where I was going to go with that. I guess I'll jump to my next thought and I'll come back to it. But, like we've got our small ocean ships also, the two different brands. So with our Emerald brand, no more than 100 passengers on board. I mean, this is like an intimate, personal yacht.
And when you say ocean cruise, are you going through the Caribbean or through Mediterranean, or where are the areas you're covering?
Yeah, you nailed it, actually. So those ships were designed for warm water destinations, and those are our two focal points. The Caribbean, we cross, and then we'll spend time in the Mediterranean, doing like the Adriatic as well.
So you're crossing the Atlantic depending on the season.
We do, but that's actually a no-guest sailing. So
some other larger cruise ships do offer
Yes.
those
Yep, absolutely.
at a discounted rate to while they're repositioning the ships. Yes.
That's right, yeah. So we do that with our Scenic brand, actually. But then at the end of 26, provided it's safe to go through the Red Sea, we're going to go through the Red Sea, hit someplace on the east coast of Africa, tie it in with some safaris, go down to the Seychelles.
And also possibly through Egypt.
We are going to start going to Egypt with our
Sheikh
Scenic
and so-
brand, actually.
right.
Yeah. In fact, I'll share that for the end too. We got some really got a cool announcement, so to speak, on that. But our Emerald yachts are so popular right now. One, because of the
And
intimacy.
you said they hold about 100 people?
100 people on board. 100 people on board, and it's think of
And
like
is that the smallest ship you have, or is
that's
that the
our
standard?
smallest ocean ship. That's right.
What's the largest? How many pets does the largest one hold?
With our Emerald brand, the next generation, if you will, because we're building some new ships for our Emerald brand, there's going to be up to 128. So just a
Still
little bit larger.
not much
Very,
larger.
very intimate.
And the
Yeah.
idea is behind it is to offer a more exclusive, more refined, more personal experience.
You nailed it. That's it. Yeah, you can get into some places that the others can't get into. And it's actually a nice way to connect with the other guests on board. I mean, when you're on board with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people, it's kind of, it could be mayhem, really. I mean,
Correct.
quite frankly, in my opinion. So it's a nice way to just actually connect with some of the other passengers on board. And that experience, I like to describe it kind of like luxury meets Tommy Bahamas, right? So when you think of Tommy Bahamas, I think of like a more affluent type clientele, but
Correct.
it's very casual, like beach vibe, right? So that's what the Emerald yachts are. Our Scenic brand of ocean cruises is ultra luxury. This is all inclusive, and then you throw in the technology that we built in with these ships. So if I talk about our two ships that are currently on the waters, Scenic Eclipse and Scenic Eclipse 2, they were built between 2019 and 2023. They were built for expedition, but our owner is all about luxury also. I mean, that's what he wanted for these builds here. So his approach, like back in 2019, I think it's safe to say, like, luxury is always trying to reinvent itself, right? So he just wanted to make sure that he was not going to sacrifice anything there. And he wanted access to everything that he could do on the technology side. So I can talk to a few of those things. So when we go down to the polar regions, for example, when you leave the tip of South America, the port of Ushuaia, to go down the Antarctica Peninsula, most ocean vessels that don't have the technology that we can, talking like the propulsion system, the stabilizers and things like that, it's going to take them up to 48 hours. We do it in up to 36 hours. So we're on either end of that trip getting like an extra 12 hours, which equals a full day. So when you consider you're going to those polar regions, weather plays a gigantic part of the experience. So we may have the entire next day planned. You wake up and it's like, no, that's not going to happen because the weather is not cooperating. We have time to move to a plan B or even a plan C if we need to.
So you do have cruises that go down to Antarctica?
We do. Yep. So they start
They're
at
really
13
choppy
days.
waters there.
Well, there's the Drake's Passage, which you're
Right.
talking about. So even like the technology that I mentioned, on a rough day, everybody's going to feel going through the Drake's Passage. I will tell you confidently, it's going to be smoother with us. Like I said, the propulsion system, just the stabilizers and the way those are designed to really handle that wind and the water issues that are going on with that too. And then the fact that you get through a lot quicker, is a nice thing as well.
And those cruises start where? In Ushuaia?
Yeah, so you'll like fly into like Buenos Aires, maybe do some pre or post nights there. Then there's a little
Patagonia.
inter-air flight. Yep, we do Patagonia. Then you get into the town of Ushuaia, and then you'll begin your journey. So minimum starts at 13 days. We have some that are like 21, 23
Wow.
days long. Yeah.
And these are on smaller 100-passenger ships.
Those ships maximum when we do the polar regions are 200. Yeah, because there's like a maximum occupants, or there's a maximum allowance of when you go and like get off to explore it. It can't be no more than 100 people.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah. So
Interesting.
it's a nice way to kind of split up the audience on board.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've thought about actually. It's something I would consider. Okay, that's good. Beside, we talk great deal about Europe, which is very dear to me. Let's talk about some of the regions
Sure.
that you were briefly talked about. South America, we talked about. Where are some of the other river cruising regions that are popular?
Mekong River is another really popular one. Sure.
Excuse me.
Yep. Mekong River is another
Okay.
really popular one
Tell
too.
us about
so
that.
Between Cambodia and Vietnam, just exploring that whole region. But you can take that standard 8-day, 7-night cruise. And if you travel that far, to really take in a lot more of the region. So there's extensions over to Thailand. Taking more of Cambodia and some just places just out, within that specific region. Yeah.
And how popular is that?
That one requires little promoting. That one honestly kind of sells itself. The two most popular ones like that, I would say, the Douro River and the Mekong
Portugal.
River. Yep.
Tell us about
Yep.
the Portugal, Douro River. Tell, where does that begin?
So that'll go round trip Porto.
From Porto.
Yep. But we've got extensions, of course, going down to Lisbon, and then some extensions into Spain on top of that also. So we have an 8-day, 7-night one, and then we got a longer one also where you can take in a bit more and do it more leisurely.
And you're hitting different towns and different regions within the Douro River.
That's right.
You go all the way to Spain.
We do.
Okay.
Yep. So we go into, I think Seville is where we go to on that one,
Okay.
if I'm recalling. It's not Seville, it's another city. I can't recall the name, but we do have one like that. And then that's another river I haven't been to, but what I do know about it is that it's going to be a bit different than the other rivers in Europe, just because a lot of the towns aren't built right on the water. So you're not going to see as many of those villages as you're sailing. So it's more of the touring into the town and then doing some exploring once you get there. But some great vineyards, some great port wine, of course, that you get to enjoy as well.
And some really great still wine or regular wine, dry wines from Portugal that people don't appreciate, and or we're not exposed to. Part of the reason is because they have such esoteric and difficult to pronounce names that most people can say port, but they cannot. It's difficult to pronounce a lot of those Touriga Nacionals, a lot of these different names that Portuguese have, which makes it difficult to market those wines, and consequently, less people enjoy them.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Well, I think the Spanish have done a better job. Of course, the French have done a better job. They've been doing a lot longer also. If someone is going to go on these river cruises for the first time, which one do you recommend? What do you recommend?
I would still, very subjective, but for the majority that we would speak into, I would say the Rhine or that upper Danube that we've talked about. Yeah. Just because,
Where do they begin? Yeah, either one of these.
Yeah. So the Rhine, you're going between Amsterdam and Basel, Switzerland. So you can board in either one, north or southbound. And then for the upper Danube, you're typically going to board in the port of Regensburg and then go down to Budapest in reverse direction. Those tend to be the two most popular because you got just some iconic cities on those ones, and it feels a little bit more Central Europe to folks, and those ones are probably the most popular, I would say.
What has been the role of social media in promoting and getting people excited about river cruising?
Yeah. It's big. You can't separate social media from promotions and spreading the word. Yeah, from anything, really. I'll give one quick example. I get an opportunity to lead different travel advisors who I work closely with, obviously, on different what we call a FAM trip, which is like short for familiarization trip. And one advisor that I took on board last year.
I'm an advisor. You can take me.
Yeah. Let's get you on a wine cruise is what I'd love to do. I'm sure you have a following that would love to go with you and talk about that. But this advisor was basically, she didn't even have a huge social media following. She had a Facebook, she had Instagram, and she was doing nothing more than giving little updates each day and just kind of so her followers could kind of track what was going on with her. Before we got off of that cruise, she had people, so many people saying they were interested and wanted to do this cruise. We set up a group while we were still on board. She nearly sold out the 10 cabins that she had secured initially. And she basically did book all of them, but she got the final deposit when she got off the ship for two of them. So she basically sold it out and added cabins to her stateroom. And it was all just through social media, people just seeing what was going on and being excited by it. Yeah.
So the company is paying a lot of attention to influencers or other
Absolutely.
people who are involved in promoting
Yep.
traveling or on social media.
Yes, yes.
Where do you see river cruising 5, 10 years from now?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people would love to know the exact answer on that, but I would, I guess my personal feelings, even what I said about so many ships entering the waters now, some of the large cities, they all have space to dock all the ships. I think it's some of the smaller cities that I could see potentially being affected, where we're going to have to find some new ports to stop at, honestly, because you could have so many in some of the busier seasons. And, when you all kind of, ascend on certain small cities, it could take away some of that charm of being able to visit and see it where it doesn't feel so crowded and overpacked. Those are my thoughts. Yeah.
Is river cruising seasonal?
It is, yeah. So primarily, it's most of the year. So a lot of river cruise companies, including ourselves, we're starting to sail earlier. Normally, you're looking at mid-March into early April. Now we're starting like late February and early March. The benefit with that, because it is going to be colder, but you're looking at lower price points, less crowds.
So when is the most popular time? July, August?
The destination does play a part with that, but typically, July, August, or July through early September, it's going to be really busy. Yeah.
And how far in advance people should book?
For any river cruise, I would say no less than a year is when you
Really?
want to book. Definitely,
There's
yeah.
no such thing as last minute?
There are last minute, but if you want the best deal, if you want your cabin of choice, you definitely want to book earlier. There's a number of dates that we're looking at that are already sold out for next year, honestly.
So what different levels of cabins are there?
So you have your like entry level, your entry level like fixed window stateroom.
What's a fixed window?
Basically, you can't open up the window, and in the industry, we kind of jokingly refer to it
But
as a swan
are you
view.
looking outside?
You can see
Or
outside.
is it just a picture?
It's no, you're actually looking outside, so it is a real window, and we call it the swan view because like you'll actually see like swans. So the window's going to be a bit higher, like when you walk into stateroom. So it's not like your regular window.
Are there different levels within the?
Yeah, so there's like typically you're going to have like 3 levels of staterooms.
Really?
That's
Okay.
that's the average number of levels. And then you get above that, and you'll have your balcony staterooms, and the rooms just get larger as you get up to the top. So on our largest ship, that entry level stateroom starts at about 160 square feet. Your first level balconies on some of the larger ships will be at about 205 square feet. And then on our larger ships, we have our Royal Owner Suite, which are really beautiful and spacious. Those can be up to 520 square feet.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's larger than an apartment.
Yeah. Some of them, yeah. I mean, they're a good size, yeah.
And on the second level balconies that you make, how big are these balconies?
For our ships, it's going to be a little different. I do have to explain this; it'll make sense. So we don't have any full step-out balconies on our ships, and that was by design. How many times have you had access to veranda, but maybe didn't go out there because it was just too hot or too cold? So the way ours are designed is we keep that square footage within the stateroom, but there's a button that you can press to that panoramic window. And when you want like a French balcony feel from within your stateroom, you hit that button, and you can lower it all the way down to that railing level.
So it will open up the whole, almost like a whole door will open down.
It's
come down.
not a whole door, but it opens up to right about
So
here.
you will get the outside experience
That's
coming
correct.
in, the wind, the smell.
Yep.
The pelicans.
exactly. Which is it's funny you even mention that. Like, there was you don't want to leave your stateroom all day and leave that window down because birds will
Correct.
probably make their
Correct.
way in there. Yeah, but that's nice because again, those extra feet that you get that you can access just from within your room. Versus like looking outside and having it be like that's just too hot or it's raining right now. I can't enjoy that. So that's a nice benefit.
Since I know some people who do smoke cigars,
Mm-hmm.
do you allow people smoking cigars outside on balconies?
Up on the top deck, there is a designated area where you can do that. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Not everywhere else
No.
around outside.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. What should people know before they book a cruise? What should they know?
If we're talking about river cruises, I mean, there's a lot of people that still, as popular as it is, there's a lot of people that have kind of heard about it, but have never really done research on it. I think we kind of touched upon it earlier with your question, but there's a lot of different river cruise lines out there. It's not a one size fits for everybody. A lot of people are more aware of how much it's going to cost me to get on board the ship, and I think kind of ignorant about how much it's going to cost to step off the ship. So that's something you want to factor in. So I would say like a good travel advisor would properly counsel them along those things, right? So like you have your, and I don't want to mention any names to make it, but you know, but like you have your like your entry level to river cruising, which might get you on at a really great price point, but they're not going to include all your shore excursions. They're not going to have the same meal options that we do with our scenic brand.
That's a good point. Let's talk about your Emerald line, you said, where not everything is included.
Yes.
What other expenses are there that they should envision or they will have to spend?
Yeah. So with Emerald, we're going to include 1 to 2 shore tours at every port of call, and then we'll have some upgrade options. Those upgrade options can average, I would say, in price, maybe like $65 to just over $100, $110 or so per person. And one example of what this could be is like when you're in Vienna, there's this amazing concert that we offer. So you could pay to be a part of that. With respect to the meals, you're not going to have as many meal options as you do on our scenic brand. Maybe I'll kind of compare those two to kind of give an idea. So you'll have your main dining room and then like a terrace area to dine with Emerald versus the up to 5 dining options with scenic.
Okay, but with Emerald, meals are included.
They are included. Yeah.
But
so let me stick to that for you. Yeah.
What else can you spend money on food? Let's say, are there more food related expenses?
There's not really. So there's no additional meal options
How
really
about
available. The wine
Or
is
other
that's a really
beverages?
so that's good. So beverages will be included. Wine, soft drinks, beers
House
are going to be
wine.
included.
House
Yep.
wine.
Yeah, there's a good selection actually during the meals, but only for lunch and dinner. Or if you want like mimosas for breakfast, we can do that. But drinks are not going to be included for the in between time. There's like a drink package if you want to do something like that. So that's
Can people bring their own wine on board the ship?
you can actually, yeah, yep. So that's something nice that you can do.
But if you want to, let's say you're having dinner and you want something more luxurious, something better.
Yeah.
From you have a wine list people can order from?
We do. Yes, we do. Yep. So that could be an extra expense. That might be about the only, services of a massage. That's going to be extra on any one of our ships, though, but we do offer those services. That would honestly be about it, really. So those extra drinks or the extra shore excursions when you're on the cruise would really be about it between the two. With our scenic brand, you just have more amenities and services being offered overall, though.
So you're paying ahead of time.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, these are all things that I wasn't certainly aware of. I'm good to know, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers are interested. Some people may know, some people may not know, but it's wonderful to learn about these things. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Richard. I
Yes.
appreciate you coming by here today, educating us, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And remember, always drink the good stuff. Cheers, everybody.